Hello, welcome to the United Man. My name is Shane. Today we're going to be talking about Mason Greenwood and his rise to stardom. Also, Erling Haaland and Ollie's trip out to try and convince him to join Manchester United. And should we sell Paul Pogba?
The mic, making sure production's tight.
Now then, it's all about Erling Haaland. Should we be going in for him? I believe so. Ollie definitely wants him. Is he going to make a contribution to our squad going forward? Is he the right man for the job? Can he impact us in the way we need? Is he going to replace Martial? Now, with this one, this has the potential to have the rumblings of goings on and goings on until he joins his new team. Now, it's quite obvious that Ollie does want to sign him. The kid scored 28 goals in 22 games. That's including 8 Champions League goals as well. So he is obviously no slouch. As I've said before, I've watched him on quite a few occasions throughout the Champions League. Loads of highlights, obviously. I rate his potential. But that's also followed up by what he's doing right now in, obviously, it's the Austrian league, but he is doing it. Now, obviously, with Ollie flying out to Salzburg to try and basically intercept Haaland and trying to get him on board with Manchester United, it's been widely reported on by various news sources that he's gone out to Dortmund and spoken to them, and also RB Leipzig. Now, RB Leipzig, Borussia Dortmund, no disrespect to them, but it kind of shows where we are in our transition from our club from where we were before. Because before, if Man United came knocking, the likes of RB Leipzig and Borussia Dortmund probably wouldn't stand a chance against us. So that kind of shows our fall from grace. That being said, obviously, Dortmund are pretty much way ahead of us at the moment in terms of the European standings. We're not even in the Champions League, so that kind of gives off its own signal there. We are struggling to attract the top names, which is kind of going along with Ollie's philosophy anyway, because the big names at the moment, I don't believe, this is outside of the Premier League with the English players, I don't believe that they're going to want to join Manchester United, you know, ahead of the likes of obviously Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, PSG, Juventus. I believe we're way down in that pecking order, probably, you know, sort of like 7th or 8th pick. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's where we are at the moment. On to young Mason Greenwood. Now, he is turning up some serious headlines here, because it's not just his performance against AZ Alkmaar, but it's just how he is, how he plays. Everyone's raving about his finishing. He had one matter after the game saying, look, he's just a finisher. Inside the box, he's just a finisher. Ollie, after the game, also saying he's just a natural born goal scorer. And that's coming from all sources. Everyone's saying the same thing about this kid. Obviously, there's been a big deal made about him being both left and right foot, but ultimately he's just, as it's all been said, he's a goal scorer. Now, just touching on his performance against AZ Alkmaar, obviously he won the penalty that Mata scored. He created an opportunity early on for Martial. Unfortunately, Martial missed it, and he also scored 2 goals himself. Now, it's his composure. He is fully confident in his own ability as well, which obviously shows. Now, the fact that he's only 18, only just turned 18, and has that level of confidence. Now, there's been lots of comparisons made between himself and Robin van Persie. That's purely down to his style, how he looks whilst he's on the ball, his running style, that sort of thing, his dribbling style, passing style, shooting style. He is very two-footed, as I mentioned before, but he genuinely has the quality to oust the likes of Anthony Martial. Problem being, though, if we go and sign Erling Haaland, and you've got Rashford playing off the left, which is his favourite position, you'd assume, and then you go and buy Erling Haaland, you're assuming that we're not going to sell Anthony Martial in January. We've already got Daniel James. Does that limit his opportunities even more? Now, with Mr. Greenwood, I genuinely believe he can literally be anything he wants to be. He can end up being a world-class player. He can end up being a mediocre player. Ultimately, I just believe it's down to him. His application, he seems to have a level head. You never see him displaying too much of any one emotion. You never see him too happy. You don't really ever see, I've never seen him angry anyway, but obviously I'm not around him all the time. But he just seems to be really even-keeled. He seems to be like, he's taking it all in his stride, and that's what you want from a young player like that. Whereas you've had the likes of Tahith Chong, he's been given numerous opportunities, and he's not really showing that he's ready for that type of, or that level of football. And I don't think he'll end up staying. Obviously, his contract's due to run out soon as well anyway. Now, reports are coming out saying that we do need to obviously strengthen in the January transfer window, and that's coming from Ollie. He's saying, 2 or 3 players, but it's difficult in January to go and buy players. Now, I tend to agree with him in terms of successfully making a transfer and them coming into the squad and obviously being a success. 9 times out of 10, when you buy a player in January, it's difficult for them to adjust. They've not had a pre-season behind them. They're coming in, jumping to a new system, new management, new teammates, new house, new everything. So it's generally quite difficult for January signers to succeed. Now, that being said, with the situation with Erling Haaland, which seems to be Ollie's #1 transfer, it looks like it's going to have to be accelerated because the rest of Europe are on his case, on his tail. I'll be very surprised if we can get this one done. As I said before, Ollie obviously wants him, but is it necessary to go and get an Erling Haaland? Is it not a better to go and sign a more experienced striker where they're sort of at the latter end of their career? I've been saying for ages and ages and ages, we need someone that isn't going to then take up years and years and years of opportunities and take it away from the likes of Mason Greenwood. For me, if we go and sign Erling Haaland, as much as his potential is there not for all to see and his abilities there for all to see, if we go and sign him, we're going to limit someone. PP, Paul Pogba. Now, the question was raised at the beginning, should we sell Paul Pogba? Now, I'm a great believer in holding on to your best players. However, the situation, what happened in the summer with him ultimately coming out and saying, look, I want to be elsewhere, and that elsewhere is Real Madrid. That one's not gone away. Zidane clearly wants him by his side. Paul Pogba, obviously, whilst he's been injured, you've seen him in America watching some basketball games, running around with some basketball players. Now, obviously, Ollie must have sanctioned that. But for me, I don't like to see that sort of thing. If you're injured, fine, do your recovery. But being around the club, ultimately, he's off on holiday, it would seem. Now, obviously, I know they do recovery periods in different countries, warm weather training and whatnot for their recovery. But I don't like to see players, when they were supposed to be injured, running around, shooting hoops, all that kind of stuff. I'd prefer it to be more, you wouldn't see those things back in the day. And again, that's probably me just being old school, but it comes with a matter of respect as well. Again, I pose a question, so let me know your thoughts. Should we sell Paul Pogba? I'm at the stages where we're never seemingly going to get that consistent Paul Pogba that he is with France, that he was with Juventus. We do have to take some responsibility for that as well, though, with the likes of Woodward not going out and getting those other world-class players to play in and around Paul Pogba. However, that being said, it's been too and far few between times where he's grabbed the ball by the horns and sort of dominated a game. Very, 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 well, it's a seldom thing with Paul Pogba. And that's what we've all been crying out for. So for me, I'd say, yeah, sell him. Let's try and get some big cash sums in for him, 120 mil, that kind of thing, 130 mil. I'll take that. And bringing players that are willing to graft, grow, develop, and ultimately be a part of this rebuild. Obviously, Paul Pogba came in along with Ibrahimovic, but yeah, it's clear that he doesn't want to be here anymore. So for me, it's time to let bygones be bygones and say goodbye. It's been reported in Marca News that the Real Madrid president, Florentino Perez, doesn't want to be spending that amount of money on Paul Pogba. Man United will be asking for the heaviest sum, rightly so, but he doesn't want to buy him for that amount of money. So that's where it comes in question. Would we then be willing to do a swap deal? Because that's what it will come down to, I believe. Because I don't think Real Madrid will stump up the 120, 130 mil that I believe we'll be asking for. I feel that it's going to come down to cash plus player. As I say though, as I mentioned, with regards to bringing in players that want to be part of the club, want to be part of the real rebuild, I think we've done well this summer with bringing in Daniel James, Harry Maguire, and obviously Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka for me is that outstanding signing so far though, because you just can't get past him. The guy is immense as a defender. Unfortunately though, when he does win the ball back or wins a tackle, he seems to quite often give the ball away or misplace a pass. So I'm sure he'll put that right. But for me, it was on Match of the Day. I think I was watching the other day after the game against City, and he come up against Raheem Sterling. And, you know, you had the likes of Martin Keown, Alan Shearer saying he's the best one-on-one defender in the Premier League right now. And for me, in the Premier League, you have pretty much a good portion of the better defenders in and around Europe. So, yeah, for me, definitely Aaron Wan-Bissaka so far, signing of the summer and signing of the season so far, I'd say as well. Right, so make sure you get your comments in with those questions with regards to Pogba leaving. Obviously, is Wan-Bissaka your signing of the season so far, as is mine? Do you think we should be signing Haaland? Let me know your views. I'll catch you in the next one, guys.